Hey, my name's Nat. Let's see what's making news. Now, if you thought today was dark, you'd be right. It's the Winter Solstice, which means it's the shortest day of the year in the Southern Hemisphere. Here's Justina.
Thursday 22, day of the Winter Solstice. When I got up, it was dark. And now it's raining, and it's dark. And when I get home, it'll be dark. Yep, happy Winter Solstice! Anyway, if you blinked and it was suddenly dark again today, you're not alone. That's because we just lived through the shortest day of the year. The Winter Solstice happens when the Southern Hemisphere is tilted its furthest away from the sun, which means we get less sunlight and therefore a shorter day. It's been celebrated around the world for centuries, and it's known as a time of transformation, creativity, and fresh beginnings. Yeah, these people in Tassie certainly would have felt fresh after this chilly dip this morning. But over the other side of the world, it's a completely different story. The Northern Hemisphere is actually tilted closest to the sun, so it's the longest day of the year for them, aka the Summer Solstice. And there are all sorts of bright and colourful celebrations going on. Lucky them.
Celebrations are well underway in Queensland after the Maroons took home the 2023 State of Origin series last night. The team smashed New South Wales 32-6 in Game 2 of the 3-game series. They'll still play the third and final game in a few weeks. Melbourne has been crowned the third most livable city in the world. After a fall from glory to 10th on the list last year, it's reclaimed its bragging rights. Sydney is just behind in 4th place, with Copenhagen coming in 2nd and Vienna taking out the top spot. There are new calls for more cultural understanding at Aussie schools after new research found that lots of African Australian students have experienced hair discrimination at school. Here's Michelle to explain.
People from diverse backgrounds often have diverse hair.
How was your day? How was class?
But here in Australia, uniform and hair rules in schools don't always reflect that.
So a lot of the students do share the same experiences of racism and texturism in school. You definitely get treated differently with the different kind of hairstyle that you have. The fear of being bullied a lot of the times, and even like the ignorance from teachers.
Researchers at the University of South Australia have been interviewing African Australian students, and many of them say they've been discriminated against because of their hair. Styles like braided hair have been part of African cultures for thousands of years, and they've been used to express identity and culture. These styles also protect natural Afro hair.
Coming from an African background, we have very different textured hair, but they're more leaning towards their Western beauty standards, and little girls are not being taught to embrace what their hair looks like.
There are some schools that have listened to their students and adopted more inclusive rules.
We do recognize the importance of hair in the cultures that our kids come from. So we have a lot of flexibility with our hair policies here.
And there are hopes many more schools across the country do the same, so everyone feels safe and included at school.
If you have yellow, you can just yellow.
Now it's time for some stories that are not quite as they seem. Hello. This looks like a yummy chicken dinner, but that chicken strip was grown in a lab. The US has just approved lab-grown meat, so now it can be sold and eaten. It comes from real animal cells that are then cultivated or grown in big steel tanks, like this one. Now to an ocularist in Brisbane. That's someone who specialises in making prosthetic eyes for people who have lost theirs. Nicholas here spends a long time making sure the colours and the shape are just right.
It can be a frustrating job. You can spend a lot of time making an eye and you look at it and you think, no, I'm not happy with that.
But now, with the help of some new 3D scanning and printing equipment, that part of the job has just gotten a lot faster.
We can take a photograph of the patient's existing eye, mirror it to the other side, and perfectly replicate that.
And finally, to these giant inflatable rubber ducks in Hong Kong, which we told you about last week. I am happy to report that they are now both back in action. Last week, one of the ducks deflated because of some hot weather, but now it's been repaired and can join its other duck friend. Well, that's all from us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.